Welcome to Facts for Real Videos. The Home Insurance Building, a 10-story structure constructed in Chicago in 1885, served as the catalyst for the entire process. But, at the time, it was a revolution, and that marked the start of the era of skyscrapers. It was built utilizing a groundbreaking technique. The tower had a steel inner skeleton, which allowed the walls to be thinner and the overall height to be greater than ever before. It remained until 1931, when it was torn down to make way for the Bank of America. That still holds true today from the same year. The Empire State Building in New York has finished its construction. 10 home insurance buildings stacked on top of one another would not be taller than the Empire State. That is the advancement in building that humanity has accomplished in only 46 years. More than 50 years after it was built, the Empire State still holds the record for highest building in the world. On the list of the tallest buildings, the Empire State Building comes in at number 53. The highest building in the world is not where humanity has reached. The Burj Khalifa is presently situated in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. Even though skyscrapers originated in the United States, this one is 2,717 feet tall, which is higher than 2 Empire State Buildings stacked on top of one another. In Asia, they gained enormous popularity. To put things in perspective, Asia is home to an estimated 80% of all skyscrapers in the globe. There are about 7,500 skyscrapers on the continent. China has about 3,000 skyscrapers, making it the nation with the most of them. The reason why they adore skyscrapers is clear. Asia has the world's greatest population. They have a growing economy. Hence, to fit as many people as possible in its cities, expanding high is the ideal approach. But not far from China. India likewise has a population that is nearly unchanged. They have slightly more than 200 skyscrapers, with the majority of them being in Mumbai, and they have 10 times less skyscrapers overall. Why then does India not construct skyscrapers? If it's such a fantastic method of accommodating. People discover that the nation strictly regulates construction, claiming that this is done for reasons of health and safety, as you can see. There is a widely accepted urban theory. Because large buildings with lots of space for people result in a city with a higher population density, more anonymity, and less safety. India is attempting to avoid this by building low-rise structures, but the issue is that when a city can't accommodate everyone who wants to live there, it begins to grow horizontally. In addition, because land and apartments are so scarce, they are extremely expensive and only a small number of people can afford them. India has started to open up in this way. Recently lifted the limitations and is now gradually permitting construction to go up higher. In fact, 34 buildings are currently being built. Where else in the globe does construction of skyscrapers not occur? Skyscrapers are more numerous in New York than in the entirety of Europe. Just 250 skyscrapers exist in Europe, and just 3 towns are home to half of them. Europe's opposition to big structures stems from quite different factors. Skyscrapers have a brief history that dates to the USA in the 20th century, just a little more than a century ago. The USA is a very young nation. Cities are continually being constructed from the ground up. There is a lot of vacant land available. Several European towns had been around for dozens of centuries while the United States was being developed. There isn't much more area for building, and nobody wants to demolish the Colosseum and replace it with a posh skyscraper. Moreover, there was no compelling cause to alter the status quo, which was Asian and driving force. American skyscrapers are a sign of the city's expanding populations. Also, Europeans are fierce guardians of their city skylines. The action of the narrative takes place in Brussels, the Belgian capital, which gave rise to the term Brusselsization in the 1960s. There were no zoning laws in place. In order to make way for more contemporary structures and create economic zones, numerous buildings in Brussels were demolished. Construction began without supervision and modern structures have been constructed all over Brussels. They had little historical or cultural significance. They made a mess of the city architecture by not fitting in at all. Image of the city. Several architects and citizens complained, and as a result, new rules that limit demolition of historically significant structures and regulate development were enacted. Several European nations took note of Belgium's blunders. Many still loathe modern architecture in Europe. Many cities enacted zoning laws, making it difficult to construct a sophisticated glass skyscraper in Europe. Yet, because important financial centers like London, Frankfurt, or Istanbul need commercial space, there are often multiple skyscrapers outside of these towns. Distinct skyscraper districts are created by the historic centers. Rome, the oldest city in the world and the capital of Italy, absolutely refused skyscrapers, declaring that none would ever build there. Have you ever observed that the majority of skyscrapers are actually constructed of glass? The decision is not at all arbitrary. There are many benefits to using glass in construction. First, glass can be crushed into any shape imaginable. Thus, the skyscraper can no longer be a simple, uninteresting vertical. The same tower as before, but with all of these elaborate patterns from around the globe. The fact that glass is a fairly thin material is the second argument. Unlike pre-home insurance building times, the floors are bigger and the walls are thinner, creating greater interior space. Because glass is transparent, there is less need for internal electrical lighting. Also, it is incredibly cost-effective because glass is temperature and weather-resistant. Finally, it simply looks posh, fancy, and contemporary. Hence, in theory, skyscrapers maximize metropolitan areas, can house more people while actually using less energy. Skyscrapers have greater space between them than smaller ones, therefore everything is a little less efficient. So, there has already been greater land utilization than we had anticipated. Moreover, about 40% of a skyscraper's floor space is wasted. Every extra story reduces the amount of floor space available since it is utilized for emergency exits and elevator shafts. Compared to the previous one, skyscrapers still use a lot of energy for heating and cooling. We shouldn't disregard the energy that elevators consume. Okay, let's investigate. Which nations have the most concentration of skyscrapers worldwide? The top 15 as of September 2022 are what I'll give you. Panama comes in at number 15 with 66 buildings. Turkey comes in at number 14 with 67 buildings. Singapore takes 13th place. 95 skyscrapers are there. India then arrives with 112 of them. Many of those have recently been constructed. The Philippines now have 122 skyscrapers, which is a significant increase. Canada surpasses Thailand's 125 towers, which start off the top 10. 126 a little bit. With 129, Indonesia is in 8th place. With 141 of them, Australia moves up to 7th place. Now that we're on 266, we have Malaysia. It is not surprising that another Asian nation, South Korea, at number 4 with 276 skyscrapers, only behind Japan by 5, and starts the top 5. With 314 buildings, the United Arab Emirates enters the top 3. We all know which two nations have the most buildings now. Yes, the second spot belongs to, if you were paying attention today, the country that served as the United States of America's founding father. They number 859 in total. That's a significant improvement from third. But there is one with 2,976 skyscrapers that is considerably larger. China takes the top spot. 3 of the top 15 nations are from Asia, including 9. 1 each in the Americas, the Middle East, Europe, and Australia. That's all for today. So thanks for your patience. The video a like and share it with your friends if it piques your interest. Simply click if you want to learn more. These videos and stay on the Facts for Real videos.